story itself, but those two are on a collision course, because the interesting thing is when I looked at these and I combined a third thing. I said, we know what, go ahead. Yeah. The two things are on a collision course: wanting to live a meaningful life, a purposeful, meaningful life. The way that we organize and execute, and our biology, actually, I'll just do three, I'll do a triangle, and the biology of motivation. The science of the actual biology of motivation. What do I mean by that? Well, we know what motivates people now, right? We chemically we know what motivates them. So what motivates you? Why? What does he motivate you for? And what does that feel like to you when you actually so how does that manifest itself? So you want to go do something, right? Let's pick something that you need to get motivated to go do. Let's say you got a work assignment you want to go do. Oh, there you are, right? So what motivates you to do that work assignment? You think of him? Well, what's the contribution of that work to him? Yeah, what's your contribution of that work you're going to do to him? So you're using the experiences you're sharing with him. So how do you get motivated from that? So let's pick a deliverable, right? Let's say it's you got to get a spec done for the user interface of the application. Let's say something like that, right? The UI, right? And you don't want to do that work, right? You say to yourself, I'm not really motivated to do that work. So you say, okay, I'm going to get motivated. I'm going to force myself to do it. But how are you going to get motivated? You're going to say to yourself, look, I need to be able to do this work so I can show my son that I was able to do that work. How? Like what? Like what? What do you mean he's going to have it? He's going to have what? So now we put you in the paradox. So what happens if he doesn't have any interest in that? I understand. So then what did you end up doing the work for? Okay, so let's say that it doesn't sell. It's not sellable. It gets outdated. It just okay. So you've given him the opportunity. All right. So in other words, I'm gonna relate this back to let's say it's the opportunity to sell it to make money. Because that's what you mean. If you can sell it, that means you're going to make money. So what he's getting out of it is that you're giving him money. Absolutely. So what you're doing is you're taking your skills and knowledge and capabilities. You're getting motivated to do them so that eventually you can pass off something that you've done to him in some way, whether it's money or whether it's an IP or whether it's business or something like that. Okay. So how does that contrast with the time spent working with him directly, teaching him something substantial, and having him do that work himself? Of course you do. Yeah, right. Yeah. Right. So that's better. So if you look at that compared to doing something at Microsoft, you've come a long way, right? Because what were you doing at Microsoft and why? Right. And so how do you go about right? No, I get it. So how do you go about? You go, okay, now I'm going to go out there and do this work for my son. I feel really good about that. So how do you go about that work? And did you set deadlines? Did you create a project plan? How do you go about that work? Hmm. So are you setting goals, or how do you know what you need to get done, and how I understand agile and all that kind of stuff, but I mean, are you have specific deadlines you're trying to meet, or goals you're trying to set, or are you just kind of taking it one at a time? Yeah. How do you prioritize those on your so those are your backlog, and how do you prioritize those to get them done? And what motive? So and then so you're saying that she's more loosey goosey. You want more of a timeline. And are you exit? How are you executing on getting those things done? What's the execution look like? Are you a day to day? You set a set of goals and you try to figure out how far you can get, or how does that work? absolutely. Hang on. Hey, get out of here! Son of a bitch. Oh yeah, I saw him fly over, and I got him. It's just, they're very territorial. That's where I have to go to. I have to create a nest for them. I think that's the next step. I'm going to try a nest. So that's the next thing. If you give them their own nest, then it's like a birdhouse, but it looks like a birdhouse, but it's a nest. They go in it, and you know, chips in the bottom. And instead of doing it in your house, they'll go into that, and they'll say, okay, I'm going to, because they're looking to nest in it. They're not just trying to pound. And the good thing is they're territorial. So you'll have I have a male and a female that are here right now. Rather kill them, but they will. No, you only get one woodpecker at a time on your house, or at least on one side of your house anyway. So I got a little bit of problem in the front, but mostly my problem is out here on this back side. Anyway, yeah. So what I'm getting at is that here's what ends up happening when you begin to set deadlines. And you begin to create a list of all the things you want to get done to make this big project complete, right? You start using that. You're using your tools you have for organization, and the tools are. I like Agile a lot better. It's a lot better than the old project style of execution, right? The old project management style from Microsoft Project, which is set all your milestones, figure everything out ahead of time. That's waterfall, right? That's what Agile is. But they're both project management. Really, all Agile has done is said, instead of taking 3 years, we're going to take 1 week. And it's really short cycle, but it is actually the exact same thing. What you get done yesterday, what are you doing today? How far are you getting? That's your standards, and you're still setting it. So it's actually still pretty linear based. And the problem with that is this. The problem with that is that you want to do something really interesting for your son. That's what motivates you. Okay, that's starting to get into that meaningful existence of life. That's sitting in the serotonin oxytocin place. Whenever you get into execution mode, there's only 2 chemicals that are released. You say, I have to get something done by this date, right? When you say I have to get something done by this date, you automatically are releasing this. That's just a tactical component, but and I'm not suggesting you just eliminate tactics, but that what that does is that implements cortisol and dopamine. Dopamine says, I got something done, I feel good. Hey, whatever, I forget the name of the CEO, whatever her name is. What's her name? Your CEO. Yeah, your CEO. What's her name? Brenda. So you go to Brenda, Brenda, look at the stuff we got accomplished this week, right? And you're going to show her all the stuff that's done. And she's going to say, oh, that's great, or that's bad. We didn't get enough done, or you got enough done. And then you think to yourself, next week I'm doing an Agile, so here's my sprint, right? And the sprint comes around, you didn't get anything done. You didn't get anywhere near done. So now you got to have that conversation with her, right? Or you get a couple of days into it, you realize I haven't done anything yet. Oh, crap. Right? Oh, crap, I got to get it done. Now, what the oh, crap is, this is very typical in corporations. It happens outside of them as well. But the oh, crap is cortisol. And cortisol kicks in. And what happens in places like Microsoft or any corporate environment in general, they're all driven by the mission, vision, strategy, objective, plan, task, project. That whole conundrum was what they're driven on. What ends up happening is, instead of a tiger killing you, which cortisol comes in when you're going to be killed, right? When your life is threatened, it comes in. Well, now what happens is your life is threatened when you got a deadline due in 2 days and you haven't started it. It starts in college too, and cortisol kicks in. So cortisol kicks in, and dopamine says, "I got something done." So those are the 2 motivating. Both are motivating, but they're motivating chemicals. Those 2 become a deadly cocktail over time. It is a carrot and a stick, and yeah, absolutely. And that's carrot and stick is what that's all about. And the problem with that deadly cocktail is that if you think of 2 gas tanks in your system, right? Okay, so here you want more meaning, right? And what happens is that they're inverse. When you're driven over here, you're completely on cortisol and dopamine, and that keeps driving you. The more this gas tank fills up, the more this one drops off. Now think of this relationship. You ever had in life where you're like, something just doesn't feel right? I don't know what it is, but it's not good. It's almost in all cases. This is why antidepressants are huge, because what happens when people get here, they feel horrible. And they go out and they talk to a psychologist. That's what happens. Or psychiatrist. The psychiatrist says antidepressants. So they're trying to do this, but they're doing it chemically. So this isn't actually happening. They still got all their deadlines and all the cortisol stuff, but they walk around like a zombie and they have no personality. and life is miserable. That's what's happened. So what's happened is, this is why nobody else has done this yet. I don't know why. This is just Josh's 100%. I didn't get this from anybody else. This is just made up for me. I figured it all out. Is that's what's happening is, yeah, well, yeah, life 1.0 and 2.0, 2.0 actually agility is 2.0. So because they've gone a long way to try to end that conundrum by shortening the cycles, and that's helped a lot. It's helped a lot of the symptoms, but it hasn't gotten to the cause until you get to life 3, which gets to the cause. Life 3 says something different. It said, so what happens? Life 2 says, ooh, this cycle is too long and too devastating in life 1. So life 2, let's shorten that cycle so that we're not having to get to these extremes so quickly, right? We're going to know way sooner if we're going to, so we're not going to get oh crap, I've had 2 months to get something done and I haven't even started. You're not going to get that because you're meeting every single day. Every single day. So it lessens the ability for the cortisol and dopamine to impact you depressive wise. So 2.0 is a good step. I love it. That's why agile is such an interesting thing. But it's because it shortens that cycle and it reduces this out of balance. What ends up happening is we go into the lost life cycle, and you're there when you're sitting there going, what is going on? Why is this all happening? What's the value of it, right? It feels so off. I'm not getting stuff. Is it me? You look at, you start looking for possible excuses, and that's what's happening. Is that these have become out of balance. The me